Who am I? Oh, I'm Richard. Hi, how you doing? I became a Christian. I keep saying this. I've noticed I say this in pretty much every video, but I became a Christian in January 1990 at the age of 24, which is a nice sort of round number for 1990 because it means like this year I've been a Christian now for 36 years. I had a pretty profound conversion experience, I've been told. To me, it was just my conversion experience, so I don't see it as profound. But yeah, what happened? Well, I was working on a test bench in an electronics company, and I got a new guy working next to me, come all the way from New Zealand, and he was a Christian. He started talking about his faith. I was really interested, I was always fascinated and interested in the whole spiritual stuff. I looked into things like Buddhism and stuff like that to see, where the truth is. And I'd actually dismissed Christianity because of my childhood experiences of school assemblies and church parades and things like that. Anyway, so this guy was talking to me and telling me about his faith. And he asked me what I believed about the Christian faith. And he started let's wind back a bit. He started talking about hearing from God. And that kind of flips me out, if you like. Because I'd met people in the past who'd claimed they had psychic powers and telepathy and all of this kind of stuff, and had weird spiritual experiences and things, and I dismissed them all and thought, nutcases. And I thought, well, this guy doesn't seem like a nutcase, but now he was sounding like a nutcase. You can never tell on the outside. And I've met a lot of people on the outside look fine. When you drill down, they've got some hidden thing that that's some weird belief or whatever. Anyway, he started defending it very logically. And he asked me, well, what do you believe? Do you believe that Jesus was God, born of a virgin? And I said, well, I could believe that. I can believe that. And then he said, do you believe Jesus died on the cross? Yeah, I believe that. Do you believe that he went up to heaven? And I thought, yeah, I can believe that. And then he said, well, he's still there then, isn't he? And he kind of struck me with logic. He also said, well, why would he believe in a God who can't communicate with his creation? And again, it struck me with logic. And, being an electronics person, you can probably tell that my background was logic anyways, theological. So I got really annoyed with him. I was annoyed. I was just annoyed. I don't know. I was kind of annoyed, frustrated, like I say. I was, I could believe the mythology, but I couldn't believe the mythology was real. Does that make sense? I don't know. That's just the weirdest thing, isn't it? And so I had to make a decision what I was going to do about it. And I thought, well, the only logical thing to do is to test the hypothesis and pray and ask Jesus and say, look, if you are there, I'm prepared to believe you're there. Prove it, reveal yourself to me. I don't mean prove it as in like, you have to prove to me that you're God, but but in a kind of humble way. If you're there, please reveal yourself to me so that I can know the truth. And if you are there, then I'm yours. If you're not there, then I haven't lost anything because I've told anybody. I haven't sort of come out and said, oh, I'm a Christian now. That's kind of one of those things, isn't it, that people get. Like Russell Brand at the moment, oh, you used to be a Buddhist and now you're a Christian. It's like, there's a big difference between being somebody who chooses to be a Buddhist and follow a religious path and a person who is confronted with the truth about God. So anyway, yeah. And at that moment, yeah, it was like my mind went like glass. It was like I went from complete confusion and chaos and my brain all over the place, couldn't understand this, to suddenly, as soon as I accepted it was clear. It's like getting a bottle of fizzy drink and shaking it up and it being ready to explode, and then as soon as you actually release the pressure on this, for me, instead of it exploding everywhere, it was like it just turned into pure water. It was like I knew that every question had an answer and there wasn't a problem. Anyway, so I kept to my word, and I said I would do this for a week. And if after a week I was still convinced that God existed, that this wasn't just some momentary thing, then I would come out and confess that I am now a Christian. So I did. I gave it a week, and after about a week of questioning my friend and other Christians in the workplace about their faith, I said, I was talking to this girl that was going to go off and join Youth with a Mission. And I was talking to her about pretty much summing up what I'd heard from my friend and others. And I said, that's what we believe, isn't it? And that was the first time I sort of confessed myself as a Christian without actually saying necessarily out loud, I'm a Christian, but just admitting it to somebody that I'm on that side. As I was walking away from her, my chest felt like it was going to explode. And my head was full of, it's so easy. You just have to believe. You just have to believe. I really wanted to just go up to tell everybody and say, look, you've just got to believe. You just have to believe. It's that easy. Anyway, so that was how I became a Christian.